Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Today is Wednesday, July 23rd. Today is the first day of the Charji Partha Sarte Rajagopalachari, his 98, what would be his 98th birthday, birthday anniversary, as they call it in India. It's also the first video, the introductory first audio for the 2006 Journey series, and this will be a standalone video. I'm not sure if I'm going to put this up today or I'm going to wait till tomorrow and do a second audio, because I have one audio up today already on the Gratefullness meditation. But we'll see what happens. So I did the 7 sittings in 7 days, and I have a lot to say about that. And I just completed the first sitting. Just an amazing sitting. I mean, I'm still feeling it. We got baby chicks this morning, so that kind of delayed my sitting and the whole thing. But it worked out kind of great. So first I want to talk about the 7 sittings in 7 days. This stuff that you do with Sahaj Marg, like, you don't always know, no matter who you are, you're the master of the system, you're doing God's work. You aren't always given all the information. Like, even if you're the best prophet, you're someone who can see into the future. You're only seeing what you're allowed to see at the time. And so you're using your heart as you develop these abilities to kind of just know what you need to do for that day. And you might start something, like this. We're doing this. Some people have responded to the possibility of building some Sahaj Marg community, kind of homesteading community and whatever. And it may or may not happen, just like, gatherings may or may not happen in the future. That community thing would bring gatherings, make it more likely that they would be able to be done. Something like that. But, it's not in that stage yet. Like, there's things that it's like a feeling out process. There are people interested, there's things that have happened on my end to open it up, more so. But, the ideas are there for me, that what potentially could be, but it doesn't always go that way. But that doesn't mean that what you start off with is wrong. It means that you have an idea and a vision of what's going to happen, and you start doing it, and you don't know how it's going to turn out. Like when I first felt the transmission on Lalaji's Basant birthday celebration in 2023, I didn't know that Gratefullness meditation would become something. I didn't know that I'd start giving sittings again. And with all these things, the idea comes, and then you act on the idea, and you see what the results are, and it's like more is revealed to you as you go along the path, right? And so that is very much so what's happened with the 7 sittings in 7 days. So I knew I wanted to do a playlist with 3 sittings in 1 day, the intensive, because I had done that before as a preceptor in an Abhyasi, and it was wonderful. It was very intense. And, I got these preceptor sittings where I got 8 sittings in 2 days, 3 days, something. And, and I was in India for a while before that. So, but there's this idea of getting deep, intense cleaning and getting these sittings. And it's great to do before a gathering, which, I did. Sittings were passing through me as a preceptor. And then I started to take them as an Abhyasi. I started to receive them. And it was just a wonderful process. And Babaji's birthday gathering was the best one so far. And so I knew I was going to probably do the 7 sittings in 7 days. And a lot of intense things are going on. And I felt, the need for doing that. And the sittings went great. I did them every night before going to bed. It's the best time for me to do things like that. And I was having trouble sleeping. Like I was tired, but I wouldn't go to sleep. And, there's not so much to do with the sittings, but just in general. But I did 2 sittings in one day. So like I didn't have enough time when I started it. I didn't calculate it correctly. I did, they were about 12 hours apart, which it can be done. I said that before. The idea is to get these 7 sittings in a short period of time. They could be done in 3 or 4 days, doing 2 a day. I don't think 3 a day would be good, but maybe, if necessary. But I did the final sitting last night, the 7th sitting. And the 6th sitting, I remembered it, like when I was receiving the sitting, I kind of remembered it from last time, like I forgot what happened. And it's good that these videos exist. I could go back and re-listen to them, but I probably will never will. But I remember the 6th sitting was so blissful. I'm like, I wonder what the 7th sitting is going to be like, because it seemed like all the cleaning had happened the first 5 sittings, and the 6th sitting was just all transmission. And each time I've done this twice now, and each time the sittings have been different. Like they're not the same, which is interesting because they have a life of their own, and they respond to a person where they are at a particular time. I mean, there's so many great things about the Sahaj Marg method of cleaning and transmission. But I remember that when I did the 7th sitting, it was so intensely cleaning, I was surprised that it went back from transmission on the 6th sitting to cleaning on the 7th sitting. And so I was so unbelievably restless, and it was for the whole sitting. Like there wasn't transmission at all. I mean, I was so tired. Like I came in to go to bed, I'm like, I better go now or I'm going to not be able to do the sitting. And I got really tired quickly, and then I was like crawling out of my skin, just restless, and just, and I was thinking during the sitting, like there's 2 ways to experience it, because it's unpleasant. And I'm like, well, this isn't a good sign, and I've just done 7 sittings, and your inner condition's there. But at each point of the spiritual yatra, there's 4 conditions, and like one of them's like bliss, and one of them's restlessness. I forget what the other 2 are. They're in Babaji's book. Is one of his 5 books, probably the one about the way he describes the yatra of the soul towards infinity. I think that one's called, but maybe I'm not. I'm not sure. But either way, there's 4 conditions at each of the points. And restlessness is always part of it, because restlessness is part of moving forward to the next stage. Like it's restlessness to not stay where you are, because that's some of the spiritual points and conditions are so blissful, you just want to stay there forever. You just feel so good, you're like, I don't want to go any farther. And so that's one of the risks of bliss, right? One of the risks of peace, that you're not motivated to move, and so restlessness is a gift in that way. And so I was thinking about, like, well, what was the gathering going to be like if I'm feeling this restless, because it's like, but I remember that sitting being a cleaning one the last time I did it, and of course, different experience this time. So I also had these thoughts, because I was up for a while, that this a lot of what we're doing here is preparing for the future. Like, it's always preparing for the future. That's you're working now to make a more glorious future. You're working in the present to create a better future, and some of that is suffering now so you can have a better future. Charji always talked about how it's better to suffer when you're young, when you have the energy to fight through the sufferings and the difficulties, because when you get older, you just don't have anything in your tank to do that, right? Especially now with people's situation with their medication and the healthcare system and all those, they're just zombified, and they don't have anything left to deal with the pain and the suffering that they've pushed off. This bank of pain that Charji also talked about. If you don't experience the pain when you can, the earliest possible time, it just starts to build up like a bank, like a snowball. Then you have to deal with it all at once at the end of your life or the next life. And so you're just pushing off something, which everybody's doing, because people just are so resistant to pain and suffering and misery, believing that they don't have to suffer those things. And, it's part of life. And so they want the pleasure without the suffering. They want the experience without the hangover. And so I was thinking about how, that the system, and I don't want to get into the dodgy stuff really anymore. I talked about it in the first video that I made in the last Journey series. that I just put up. But whatever happened with the dodgy debacle, it's left us with a mess. And I'm thinking about all these people because, they're not being able to go to a gathering. Like I'm taking the first of 6 sittings and they're going to get 2 in a concert, like some bullshit thing. It's probably going to lack any sort of real energy and just all of it. Like they're these people who, they don't, I mean, many of them have an excuse that they haven't been able to leave the system. Their family's doing it. Like they just don't have, they're just not built that way to be, there are problems with it. They don't have problems with authority like Americans do. Their master guru culture. Charji nominated Dodgy and, who was endorsed in the Whispers. And so he's the legitimate master of the system. And it's just, they're kind of in a bad situation where they can't get out of that. And now they're stuck in this fucking dysfunctional cult, like whatever dumbed down cult bullshit thing that they have. And, whatever the plan was, whatever was happening there, there was a time where Babaji didn't have any books and he would make a preceptor and gave them no training or direction. He would say, just go work. And he expected everybody to get all of it through the meditation because it's possible. Like he didn't have any books. He did have Lalaji, but Lalaji was dead when Babaji did most of his spiritual yatra. And so he intercommuned with Lalaji, which is a rare thing, and was able to have these conversations. But, he expected people just to learn from meditating. And it's possible because we do that. We all do that. We all learn from meditating. We all learn from doing the work as a preceptor. But it's nice to have some framework and some books and some philosophy and talks. And that's where, Babaji wrote his 5 books where Charji came in. Because Babaji was not a good public speaker. And he talked in a very Yoda-like way, in a very simplistic way. He wasn't, he wasn't what people would consider a normal human being with a normal mentality. I mean, he might have been dyslexic, but he was so simple that he didn't waste words and he didn't talk the way people talk or, people had trouble relating to him. Of course, he had a thick Indian accent, worse than Charji's. People have trouble listening to Charji, Americans, and understanding him, but after a while, if you hear his talks over and over again, and I could hear his voice, like he's one of the people I can hear his voice, the way he would talk. Like once in a while, it's like, you either imagine or you can hear him talking to you or whatever. People that you could hear them say something in their voice. Like if you read a letter, you would hear their voice because you're just used to them talking. People that you spend a lot of time with or people that you love. And Charji, I fully understand him now. And he had probably he was the best English speaker. But the Indian accent, first of all, Indian English is based on British English, not American English. So they already have a Indian plus a British accent. And so even though lots of them speak English, I had trouble understanding them and they had trouble understanding me. I think I understood them better than they understood me, which was problematic too. But with Charji, I understood. I understood the expressions and some of the things he would say. And even when he threw in a Hindi word or Sanskrit word here or there, or a sentence, I kind of would get it. I became attuned to it. And so that's all part of what Babaji was looking for, where the meditation itself teaches, and you have to get it from the meditation. And, the books are still there, but I don't know how long that'll last. And so there might be a point where everyone has to get it from the meditation, that they'll be so connected. Certainly Madame Hélène, the medium, having direct connection and just being told what you need to know and having the experiences instead of reading about the experiences and understanding what is going on in the experience. And that might take several lives. Like this is, it's kind of a mess now, the Sahaj Marg system, but it's also preparing for the next life. Because whatever bullshit you're doing on a human level, whatever some scars you're creating, whatever bad decisions you're making, whatever habits you have, those things can easily be corrected. But, they're not all that big a deal to clean off. It's just the accumulation over lifetimes that makes it difficult. And all this, this samskaric karma that you have to deal with, makes it, it makes people gross and disconnects them. But the stuff that you do in terms of the meditation, even just, you know, checking the box and doing it even when it's not feeling great, or you're not, understanding what's going on, or you don't see any progress, just being able to fight through that and keep on doing it, even on a, Babaji said, even if you're not meditating, your mind is meditating on a subconscious level, even if you're feeling disconnected. And so I really have, that's pretty much my mantra. My everything is about that right now, like preparing for future life, or whatever, my life in the future now, this life, but also future lives. And I would, everyone who does this system, I would suggest that's one way of looking at it. And having said all that, so I went to we got chicks this morning, and my wife went and picked them up at the post office. They were supposed to get here today, but then she found a notification they weren't going to get here till Friday. And I was like, man, I don't want to have open a box of dead chicks the day after the gathering ends, right? Like Friday's the last day of the gathering. And so, I mean, that was a real bummer, but then she got them, and they're all live, and they're really cute, and some of them are bantams. They're really tiny. And, it's a nice thing to have today, whatever. And so I got involved with all that, and then we went for a walk, and there's lots of bunnies we have now, especially baby bunnies. I took my dogs out, and it was a whole thing. And I wanted to, have my dogs go out, and then I would put them in the other room so I could do the meditation without being disturbed. And so I did the meditation late, around 10 something, usually it'd be earlier. And immediately I could feel this is a great sitting. It was like phenomenal. Like the first sitting to be that deep and filled with transmission. Usually the sittings in the beginning are the cleaning, but I'd gone through that cleaning and that restlessness last night. And it really opened up this gathering for me today. It was probably the best first sitting I've had in years to a gathering. And, I was out for a bit. And at some point I opened my eyes, which, you're not supposed to do. And it happens. And I look down, there's a tick crawling up the bed. And I'm like, ticks are a nightmare here. And my dogs were on my bed earlier today, and my buddy must have gotten a tick on him when he went out this morning, and then there it was. And, you have to flush them. They're hard to, it's just a whole thing. And so, and I didn't want to kill a tick in the middle of the frickin' meditation. I didn't want to get up and break the meditation up. So I just took the tick and threw it in the middle of our comforter. It's a white comforter. And I figured, and I wanted to forget about it. I didn't want it to be like, where's the tick? The whole gas sitting. And I just threw it in the middle of the comforter and forgot about it. And then I actually went out, and I came back in, and I meditated for about 10 minutes. And then I was over. I looked down, I found the tick and threw it away. I flushed it. And, it was, but it was just such a deep sitting. Like the tick thing actually made it like more, because I was just, I don't really want to get up. I don't want to break the energy and just the whole, like I just was like, oh my God, I'd rather get bit by the tick than wreck the, it was that kind of level of transmission. It just made me appreciate it even more. And so I'm like, well, the gathering's going to be great. Like I can still feel it now. And so then my wife called when I started doing this, I was doing this voiceover, and she had some things she wanted to talk about that were, kind of issues and whatever. I went outside with the dogs, and I was like, oh my God, I feel amazing. Like it just, this is already a great gathering. I feel it like my condition's deepening and just all of these things. And it made me appreciate like breaking free from heartfulness, because they're only going to get 2 shitty sittings. I mean, they might be good. I don't know. Like, I don't even know. I don't know what their experience. For me, they would be, because I wasn't feeling transmission from him at all. But then they're going to have some bogus concert. It's not even going to be about Chargy. I already pulled up a video of Chargy. I'm going to watch that. I got some stuff to do, but I'll watch that in a bit. I've already done my video for the day. That was the other thing. I got my video done, so I don't even have to worry about that. If I can do a little bit more work, if I have time, or, or if not, or whatever. Like, and I don't have to do any at all. I got a video for tomorrow, and I can just skip a video. And it's just, like, if I want, I could just take 3 days off. It's just a matter of, like, what I have time for and what I feel like doing. But either way, it's just a great, phenomenal way to start the gathering, and I just feel pretty much enthused. And I just want to restate this thing about, you have an idea of doing something. Oh, there's one more thing about the 7 sittings. And so, I was concerned about my son. I got bad news about some stuff. I got information that was just kind of disturbing about the whole family thing, and and also him, and just whatever. And it was one of those things where any hope of my family being part of my life later on just got eradicated. It's just fucking brutal. This was like, last year. And, my son and my relationship has gotten better or whatever. And, it's cordial. I mean, he's been somewhat helpful, but, just it's time for him to find his way in the world. And, I mean, he tried various things and it hadn't worked out and he really couldn't hold a job. And, he wanted to get into sales. And he tried a couple sales jobs that just sucked. But then when I did the 7 sittings last gathering and the Babaji gathering that followed, he got this job. And I had a sense, like, there's this teaching or principle in the Sahaj Marg system. If you're doing the master's work, if you're doing God's work, they'll do your work. And he got this job, and at first I didn't think it was a good one. Like, it was a sales job, and it kind of seemed a little bit seedy. My wife and I looked into it, and I was going to kind of say, look, you're just spinning your wheels, because both of us felt like he should go wait tables and then move into sales from that, because we had both waited tables, and, we know it was just a whole thing. And he just had a resistance to that for whatever reason. But he got this job, and it seemed like it was a bad job, and I was going to have a talk with him, and I'm like, you know what? This happened because of I felt like this was like because of the doing the 7 sittings and the gathering, there was just something coming out of it. And I'm like, well, let's just let it see how it plays out, regardless of the information or how we feel about it. And he kind of did okay, and he had tried other jobs, and he didn't make any sales, and he was making some sales. So he was actually doing a little bit better. And then it just took off. He just cracked the code. He's able to do it. Like, he's making sales. He's like the number 1 salesperson in the company now. And he's just, Chargy was a salesman. Like, Chargy talked about being a salesman, and he was, he would say that you need to sell something that sells itself. And he said, which helped him because he was just great at talking about Sahaj Marg. He just had this way about him because of his sales training and his, he became a corporate executive, and it made him be able to run the mission more efficiently, just these various ways. He was a great public speaker. Babaji wasn't so great at it, and Chargy was able to disseminate Babaji's information in such a way. So there's all those things. And so, my son is like, he's making more money than I am now. He's like doing great. And, he's ready to move out. Like, he has the money to do it. It's just a matter of time. And the most important part is he has a skill that's transferable. Like, he really gets into it. He enjoys it. He got himself a little car, and he's entered into the adult world, and he's able to do a job that he likes, and he likes being successful at it, and he's already, they're probably going to move up in the company itself. If not, he can move up. He can certainly get another job doing some other time of sales because he's already got that skill. Like, it's clearly he's got the skill. And, now I don't have to worry about it because he's, with all your kids, you have to help them transition into their own lives. And it was difficult for me because of everything that happened. And, I wanted something different for them, right? And I wanted for them to be Abiyasis, and I wanted an intergenerational family farm. And, and none of those kids, I mean, it's just unthinkable now that was even like a possibility, because it seemed like a possibility when they were young, but the door slammed shut on that, and I just had to accept it. But, this success he has, to me, is completely tied to the 7 sittings playlist, and then Babaji's birthday and the whole Gratefullness meditation. Like, it just happened, and he's, changed, and the other thing is he's doing more things out in the real world. Like, he was spending way too much time on his computer and video games. And now he's got a more, like, he was staying up all hours of the night. It was just a bummer. Like, but now he's living a life, right? And he's out there, and he's hanging out with people, and he's spending time, and he's started exercising. He's joined a gym, and so, like, all these things I wanted, and it just happened in a way, and like, there was almost a chance I could have interfered with it because of the information I got, but it turned out that, it worked out. Like I'm glad I didn't say anything because like he's doing what he needs to do, and he's already ready to go live his own life. And it's not. I mean, none of the kids turned out the way I'd hoped in terms of their spiritual, whatever it is. I hope they would be better Abiyasis than me. And then some other, just we don't have a lot in common, and they're not really truthers or any of these things. But they're all out there. They're all, they're all living their own lives. And, of course, my daughter Anna committed suicide, so that sucks. I mean, that'll always be there. But, the other three are out there. And, I mean, it's, you have that transition. And I know there's a problem now. My wife found all this stuff on Reddit where these young people just live in the houses and in their parents' basement. They're addicted to video games and they don't want to go out to the real world. And, like, it's a real fucking challenge now. And especially, given all the limitations that happen because of the homeschooling and the homesteading that the kids had, which is, they have this training, which I'm grateful for. And, but it was limited to them having, like, this extra training, which I think will serve them in the future. And, whatever spiritual stuff. But when it became clear to me that they, my family was falling apart. And my kids just want to live normal American, or we're in India, but normal lives. So they want to have cell phones. They want to have, all these things. And so, when I had to switch gears, they were now going to have to, there's not going to be intergenerational family farm. They're going to have to go find their own way in the world. And that wasn't part of the original plan. And, I wasn't necessarily, I was going through all the stress I was going through with, trying to reinvent all of it, right? And so it was, a challenge getting that done. But it got done, and that part is, just a huge relief. And in terms of, yeah, it's a disappointment because there's a vision there that didn't come true, at least in that capacity. But, at least this part, that part's done. Like you have to discharge your duty, this your dharma, this stuff that you have to do. And for as parents, you have to prepare your kids to go out into the world. Like that's the ultimate goal, where they go out, they get married, they have kids, they have jobs, they, pursue a life. And, it's not such a guarantee now because kids have this addiction to the internet and just all these things. And it's so much different now, and there's no reference point. And, and they're totally different than we are. They're not like, they don't perceive the world the same way and just all of that stuff. And so, I have this connection with the gathering and the 7-day sittings, and it turned out that actually was like this problem. And I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to help him and he wasn't going to be able to do what he needed to do. Because, he had, these things, he tried a variety of things. He tried doing some streaming and, he has some talents and he's like good at like computer stuff. He's smart. But how to make that into something where, I wondered if he was, because he had a part-time job and he couldn't sustain it. And it was just like the fast food place. And, these kids can't even do the simplest jobs that we did when we were in high school and college. The internet addiction is so strong or whatever. And so like I was concerned that it wasn't going to happen. Like I was like, and after what happened to my daughter Anna, I was worried that, he wasn't going to matriculate into having a life. And it just, it's blossomed and it's a huge relief. And, it's associated with this thing. So this is a material outcome that I know is completely connected to the spiritual work, the gratefulness meditation stuff, and this gatherings and the 7 sittings in 7 days. All of those things, combined to produce something that was unrelated because he didn't do any of those things. But, he, like I said, he got the job right when the 7 sittings, right when the Babaji birthday gathering was happening. And when that happened, it was like, I think this might be it. Like, I was like, I didn't want to get like all hopium about it, but, and it happened, and now like, I'm psyched about it. All right, so I don't know if I'm going to, again, this is the first audio in the Journey series, but now it's also it's going to be a standalone video, and I'm not sure if I'm going to make it a second audio. I think I'll do a second audio and put this up tomorrow on Chargie's birthday. So anyways, let me wrap this one up here. So this has been a really great day. I've been listening to this video from Chargy throughout the day. Forget yourselves, remember him. Reverend #Chargy. Forget yourselves, remember him, 1992 at Gayatri, Chennai, India. So this was when I first met him in 1993. This is what he was like. He was like, I think, 65, he said in this. It's from the Sahaj Marg channel. It's got 16,000 views. It was put up a year ago. And it's interviews with this woman. I believe her name is Yasmina, or it's one of the Danish women. I don't think you can see them. I was listening to it, so I wasn't watching the video. But I did watch the beginning video where he's at his house. Gayatri is the name of his house in Chennai. And, wonderful sitting this morning. We had the chicks come in, and I'll show you some video of that in a second. But just a really great day. And he talks about his initial, spiritual journey, reading Swami Vivekananda, the first time he met Babaji and how disappointed he was and how he just thought Babaji was, just a simple, uneducated man in a dirty house, right? And he talks a little bit about that, and so it's kind of a good video for introductory people. And then she asks him a variety of questions, and he just gives these amazing answers. It just, he was really sharp. I mean, he declined over the years, but he was always really sharp, especially back then. I mean, he had a great mind, and he really excelled in the interview process and these things. But he gives these wonderful answers, and many of them are great for newcomers. I really enjoyed the talk. I don't know how much I've listened to so far. Got to find my YouTube thing here, my app. I've listened to 42 minutes, so it's an hour long, so I got about 20 minutes left. But it's, one of the better videos to listen to if you're, tomorrow's his birthday. But this will be up on the Gratefullness Meditation channel tomorrow. I'm going to do a quick voiceover after the morning sitting and the sitting tonight. And so it'll be 3 sittings into this thing. And I'll talk about that. I saw that Daji gave a 35-minute sitting. And so, this was like 45 minutes, the one this morning. And then there'll be another longer. He's just, and I think they're doing some kind of bullshit concert. I mean, just typical Daji stuff. So, that's all great. Then we got these baby chicks, and I have some video about that. I was outside a lot today. It was the first time I really felt like at a gathering where I did a little bit of work. Like I completed a video this morning, then I made another video, but it's almost like I was completely detached and just in a really blissful mood and just, I'm usually detached anyway, so it's even more detached. And I just, just blissed out and just, just from one sitting and just the whole thing. We'll see how it goes tonight and tomorrow, but I'm feeling like this has been the best gathering. And the last gathering was the best gathering since, doing Gratefullness. And so they're progressively getting better, and that makes me feel good about the whole thing. So here's the video on the chicks and, some of the stuff on the farm. And then I'll talk about, I'll do one more voiceover tomorrow for the one that's going up on the Gratefullness Meditation channel. So that'll be up. You'll be watching that, that'll be there for those of you watching it. And then I'll, continue on with this for the stuff to do with, the Journey series, 206 version of the Journey series. All right, so here's the video of the chicks. Okay, so today is Wednesday, July 23rd, and we got baby chicks today. Some of them are really cute and small. They're bantam chickens, and we haven't had any chicks this small before. It's always kind of a nice day to get these. It becomes more of a hassle and work as time goes on. But, the first day it's a little bit like a Christmas morning effect when the baby chicks arrive. So I have some videos about it. Here they are. Okay, we got newborn chicks. A lot of them are smaller bantams, really cute ones. There's a really tiny one over there. We have 10 of them. There's supposed to be 11, I think. But they all made it here alive. My wife picked them up this morning. They're eating away, which is good news. And that's all. This little dude over here, they're eating and drinking, so they found their way. Now look at that little dude on the left, the yellow one. So they're really cute and tiny.
These are the smallest ones I've ever seen. Like, they're just, maybe some of them are tiny, like those guys, so tiny. Anyways, Tulsi's into it. What do you think, Tulsi? You're into it, right, Tulsi?
So, first day having the chicks, beautiful out here, probably close to the 90s. It was like first chance to eat grass here. The little one's really feisty. This one little one, she was the only one that sort of ran away. Or that little one there, maybe. What are these guys? Got their food and water here. Tulsi really wants to put them in her mouth. So that's what Tulsi likes to do. I'm going to put a little something up here for shade. I cut this hole in it so that they could go in and out of one of the coops, my last batch. And we were hoping to get a new one of these, and we got it, and it had a bottom, a black bottom, which is like just really stupid because it would have, these guys would have gotten so hot.
So let me explain that. This thing's called the Peck and Play. They don't seem to make them anymore. There's some knockoffs still available. But when we had our last batch of chicks, which we only have 2 left from 9, 6 got eaten by predators, and then we had some rooster issues. But we have 2 hens left from that batch. I have some updates on those videos, which I'll share at some point. Like a bunch of updates of the whole thing with them. So when they were young, this thing was already getting holes in it. So I cut a hole in it so that we could put it next to our secondary chicken house. We have an old chicken house and a chicken run. And I connected the 2 things so they could go outside and eat some grass and get used to going in and out of the door. I was training them how to go in and out of the door so that when we took the chicken, this Peck and Play away, we could let them out and they would go back in on their own, which proved to be fairly successful. But the idea was by the time we get the next chicks, we would have a new chicken house, Peck and Play, especially now when it's so hot out. And when my wife was ordering the chicks, it was one of those My Pet Chicken, whatever it was that she used to order. There's these various, brooding houses that ship chicks out to people and then to like Tractor Supply and stuff like that. And they had one for sale, and then when I opened it up, it had a bottom, which meant they couldn't learn to scratch and eat grass and do all the things. We were putting them outside so they can start learning to fend for themselves and find bugs and eat grass and do that other stuff. And it was just this little, it was smaller than it was like not even 2/3 of the size of the other one. And it had this bottom that was jet black and sort of like a leathery material, like some kind of, and it would just cook in the sun and they would basically be killed. It would be so hot in there. I mean, I wouldn't put them in there anyway because it makes no purpose. So we're going to return that thing. But I taped up this other one, and I have another one I ordered that was actually cheaper than the thing we got. So it's worked out. But it was just like I couldn't believe they'd be selling something so stupid because you're putting your chicks outside so they can learn to, scratch and scratch is how they get their food and things. And if you put a bottom in there, it's just stupid. Anyways.
And they're out there with the grass and the water and all these things here. So that's pretty cool. They're really cute ones. These are the smallest ones I've ever seen, I think. Because some of them are bantams, so they're not going to be big chickens. So we got 11 of them. And they actually 10. We ordered 11. Yeah. Guys, just gathered up the chicks. They're really cute. Especially that one with the yellow and the brown with the stripes. They're all really just neat looking. Sure, I got them all. Tulsi's helping. Wants to put them in her mouth. Anyways, they're a little bit hot out here. They're staying mostly in the shade. So they need 90-degree weather the first couple of days. And they're still too hot for them. Bring them inside here.
Littles.
Dulcie's looking for chicks.
Okay, so it's Thursday, July 24th, Master Chargy's birthday. Amazing sittings last night and really this morning. It's so subtle, the sitting. I can't compare these things, but certainly of all the Gratefullness gatherings, this has been the best one for me. And it's only 3 sittings in. Like last night's sitting was nice. It was a good sitting. It was nice, good transmission, good everything. This one this morning was sublime, the third sitting, and it was just all bliss and then transmission at the end. Like I haven't had sittings like this at a gathering. I think, and I don't know what the explanation is because, I mean, is it my investment in gratefulness meditation? Is it, whatever, willingness to do whatever it is? It's just years of practice, and that I'm having like just the best gathering. What I'm saying here is like the gatherings I went with Chargy were like unbelievable, and being around his energy, and it's really something I can't, compare these things to. But I always got sick, usually before the gathering and sometimes during, and and I went through it. And of course, at the end, it was great. I mean, after I went through all the cleaning, but I'm not experiencing that here and now, and I think partly just because of the years of practice and the willingness I've been able to, whatever I've been able to do to keep this thing going, and doing the 7 sittings. I want to say one thing about the 7 sittings. And I still had a little bit of trouble going to sleep last night, but even after the great meditations and all this stuff, and I really working hard yesterday. I did a lot out there work and all those things. But I think I didn't mention this already. If I mention it again, it doesn't matter. But so on today's Thursday, so it would be Tuesday night before the gathering. When I did the 7th sitting, 7 sittings in 7 days, it was really 7 sittings in 6 days for me. But when I did the 7th sitting, I was so restless. I went to sleep and I woke up and it felt like I was detoxing. I've been taking this ivermectin and not recommending anything, but I'm just taking it now for we went to this cool out-of-state pharmacy. Then they had a lot of homeopathics, whatever it is, homeopathic medicines. That's it. And other things like that. It had alternative medicines, and it sells ivermectin. And my wife and I are going to do a parasite cleanse, and also, using it. You 2 different ways. Parasite cleanses, you take it on an empty stomach, and then if you take it on a full stomach, it works on it's for like long COVID and getting rid of the spike protein. And I feel better. I feel like it's working, but I also feel like it might be making me detox, and I don't detox really well. Like if I go to sleep on an empty stomach, and my liver purges toxins, I have a miserable night. And a lot of that will be me waking up restless and angry, and sometimes like the anger. And also this happens spiritually as well, where I just have these times where I wake up and I'm just kind of angry, but not at anybody, right? Like I can contain the anger. Like if my wife wakes up, I give her a hug and tell her I love her or whatever, and she's not going to feel any of the anger. But and if I think about somebody like Dodgy or Trump or any number of things things where people are being, where anger is justified, then it'll be about that, but it's not that, right? It's not like I'm angry at somebody. It's like there's anger in my system and restlessness, and it's coming up. And also with detoxing, but I felt like I was so like toxic, like there was this toxic, whatever it was. I mean, I don't know if it had to do with the cleaning or physical stuff or a combination of both. And I went and I took, I take charcoal pills. These again, not recommend anything, but that they bond to any sort of toxins. And I eventually went back to sleep. So there was a lot of cleaning that happened in that. So you could say the gathering started with that part, and then now I don't need the cleaning so much. But I went through it for 7 days with the 7-day sitting, and I've had some heart issues, some irregular heartbeat, and which has kind of gone away since taking the ivermectin. So hopefully that's a spike protein thing. That's whatever. Like that's neither here nor there. Like this, but it's all part of this thing. But either way, the sittings have just been bliss. Yesterday was such a great day, like a gathering day. Like I was basically here by myself, and my wife and I did the sitting last night, and then this morning. But I was just doing farm stuff and doing the chicks, and we just had the newborn chicks, which I've shown you, and it was an amazing day. And I listened to the Chargy video. I look forward to listening to the end of that. And then today and I'll probably play another one if I find another. I'm sure there's plenty on that Sahaj Marg channel. And I just really great, like amazing day, and just very happy about everything. Not just happy, but whatever it is. And I don't want to compare and contrast to heartfulness because it's not what gratefulness meditation is about. But the fall of heartfulness is the need for gracefulness, right? So I looked at Dodgy's gathering. In fact, I should go look at there's one more video. I'll do that in a second. I want to start with this. I'm gonna do a voiceover for my regular channel comparing this thing with Dodgy and the people that can't break free from it to what's going on with Trump right now, with Trump being implicated in the Jeffrey Epstein files and all these things. That there's a connection between the way that people react with a cult-like mentality. And I want to talk about that separately. I'll put that audio in tomorrow's video for you guys listening to this. This is day, 2 of the gathering on the Gratefullness Meditation channel. And then those of you listening on the Journey series, it'll be, probably the next audio after this one. And then, and some of these things are going to be maybe a little bit repetitive because, I'm going to tell some of the story again. But it's a different take, different audience. But anyways, so I looked at his YouTube channel, and he gave 2 half-hour sittings that, I just, I'm looking at it, I don't feel anything at all. Like, I don't know if other people can feel transmission, but it's like 2 shitty sittings, very short sittings. And then after the first thing, he says nothing about Chargy. In the first sitting, like maybe he said, like, whatever, some bullshit stuff in the beginning of the thing, I don't know. But then he talks about building a university. And, kind of like there's going to be some kind of money making scam, right? They start off the gathering with this. They start off the video with this thing about the scam that just happened, warning people about cyber scams. And you really can't, given what they're doing there, it's all built on trust, it's bad. It's bad. Like it's a bad thing that, of course they're scamming people, and then now they're getting scammed. And then, the second sitting started off with that. Then they showed 2 pictures of, one was of Kamlesh and one was of Lalaji. And there's some stuff written in Telugu that was like quotes because it's supposed to be a local, for the local center there. And, he, no Chargy, no Babaji. So I think they're just pushing this idea of 2 founders. And the sitting was like another shitty sitting. I don't think Dodgy said anything. And then the woman comes out to release books. And they release like Heartfulness Way and like some African language. And like they released Spiritual Design, whatever, one of his fucking shitty books. They released it in Italian. They released the What is Heartfulness, like, like a Heartfulness pamphlet in multiple languages, which was like silly. Not a bad thing, but this is all on Chargy's birthday. Now, Chargy had all these epic talks and books and things. And then he released a cartoon book of one of his other books about the Upanishads or one of those fucking things that are not to relate, directly to Sahaj Marg. So no Chargy books, no new anything. And, they always have to release something because I wanted to see that part. The only one I pay attention to is Chargy's birthday because he clearly hates the guy, right? So he has this gathering to one day, and to make it one day, you have to, and this is where some of the stuff might be repetitive to what I say in the other video, but it's just, it's just going to be that way, overlapping. But for Chargy, to travel to India for one day, and they're not allowing people to do that anyway. Like if you're from out of if you're from out of whatever it is. I mean, I don't know what they're doing with foreigners. Like, they didn't turn the camera around to show how many people were there. But if you're traveling to this gathering for one day, it's not worth it. Like, people have to travel. You know, it's a long travel in India. You know, miles of travel take probably 3 times as long in India with trains and, you know, planes and fucking traffic, and just, it's just bad. And so people traveling there, you know, for one day, they're not going to do it. And they love Chargy. They want to be a part of that. And the video, the first sitting got 56,000 views. And I looked at the second one, and when I saw it, the sitting was already over. And it was, there was 8,000 people watching. So I don't know if there was, I don't know how many watching when the sitting happened, but it's just dismal. Like, they have, you know, and I think they probably boost the views of this first one. And so they're not getting views. And Kama said something about doing your practice. Like, you feel all blissed out, so you don't think you need to go to satsang, you don't think you need to. And I'm like, people don't feel all blissed out. They don't feel that at all because there's no fucking transmission, right? So people aren't doing their practice. People aren't participating or whatever. I don't even know. Like, I didn't listen to the talk. I just wanted to get the gist of it because it was not about Chargy. And so they released these shitty books that, you know, Chargy had such epic teachings. His books were so much better than Daji's. His talks were so much better than Daji's. And they are specifically about Babaji and Sahaj Marg. And that's, you know, this is where this is going to, again, overlap. You know, it's up to the disciple to, you know, to really promote the master, right? It's a master-disciple relationship. I'm going to say this more in my video to my general audience. But it's just an Indian tradition. And this is Daji's biggest failure. His scams and all these other things. I mean, he's bringing shame on the mission and the family, and his stupidity and all the stupid stuff he's done. That's all really bad. And then just, you know, getting rid of this great system. I mean, making it, like, not good anymore. So, like that's all bad shit. But what he's doing to his master, you know, which the guy was, you know, for 30 years, I mean, just whatever. He hung around him. Like, he traveled with Chargy, and he was all about Chargy, and he was, you know, I mean, all these things. And whatever happened for him to turn on him, whatever's gone down, whatever's thing or whatever he was faking, I don't know what it was. But for him to just disrespect the guy and just try to erase his great life and his great works is just messed up. And then, you know, then the woman, after they did release the books, she started talking about some watering system. You know, forests are great and trees are great, nature's great, but this was about a university and watering. And then some guy gets up for like an hour and presents something on fucking diabetes. I like, oh, what the fuck is going, like, something's, you know, being presented on diabetes. I'm going to look at the other thing real quick here, then I'll, you know, I can sum this up so I can move on and not pay attention to it. So I guess there was a third sitting. So there's another thing there. He said there was only going to be 2 sittings, and that was how it was advertised. So I don't know how it went. But they were supposed to have a concert, and they didn't. At least it wasn't displayed live. I don't know. Who gives a shit? The concerts suck. And there's just not a part. It's, you know, it takes it away from what it's supposed to be about. But the sitting today was 37 minutes, or the last one he did. They showed briefly the audience, like the male side of the gathering, but it was focused close. Like, they didn't do a pan view of all the empty seats. Because there's going to be empty seats because people can't travel there, and they were not supposed to. And so he's effectively canceled the Chargy birthday gathering. And the local people there aren't into Chargy as much as, say, where they are in Chennai and these other places, right? So I don't know what they're doing there. I don't know if they're having better gatherings there for Chargy in Chennai. But I bet a lot of the people from other countries go to Chennai. I just looked. They used to have sittings there in Chennai. And then Daji, I think, got rid of it. You know, he got rid of the food there. I don't know. You know, I could ask the Daji truther about it. I don't know if I will. Open that can of worms. but either way, it's a non-existent gathering. The highlight of it is the guy talking about fucking diabetes, right? And then talking about forests and stuff. And then there's a segment where they're just talking about heartfulness and, you know, no Sahaj Marg. In the video, the last video, there was a picture of Babaji and a quote from him. So they had Babaji and Lalaji this time, but not Charji. So no quote, like no picture of Charji and quotes of Charji. There's no Charji there. They're not. This isn't about Charji's birth. It's like Daji just pretending that, it's just a pretend thing. The whole thing is a pretend gathering, pretend sittings. He looks fucking miserable. He's like fat and just stupid and just like fucking goofy, right? And, what I thought about like yesterday and then even more so this morning, it's like the real gathering is happening here or the way that it's going with, not exclusively the gratefulness meditation in me, but like just outside of anything that Daji's doing. And people, I don't know if anybody else is doing what I'm doing here, what we're doing here with gratefulness meditation, but it's so much better. Like it's just focused on the meditation and Charji and just the whole thing. And it's like there's a flow to it. And, he's fighting it hard over there. And they're just, they've turned this into some materialistic thing, and they're not focused on the real thing, which is the transmission and cleaning. And, that's all I've ever cared about. Like, I like the organization. I love the organization. But that's all. It's a delivery system for transmission and cleaning. And that's a specific breakthrough. And, of course, the yatra process and all the things that go with it that Sahaj Marg offers. And you get rid of that, it's just like everything else. Just shitty, materialistic religion, culty, whatever. Like if you get rid of the cleaning and the transmission, and certainly the master as well, like that's, there's the master, the method, the mission. And so, without the master, you don't have the method, and without the method, you don't have the mission. And all they have now is not even the Sahaj Marg mission, but not the Sri Ramchandra mission, but some bogus thing fucking called Heartfulness. It's a joke, and with a clown as a leader, and just all of these things. And so, which we all knew, and that's like that's already, I don't need to expose Heartfulness. Like it's not my job. Like I try to do that, and I'm not here for the people who do Sahaj Marg, like all those people, because they have as much or more. They had as much or more access that I did to Charji, and they claim to love Charji, and they, whatever. Like they have to. This is a problem we all have to negotiate. This is a challenge. Each person has to figure out what to do. I've noticed some of the people who are friends of mine on Facebook are starting to like put up other things. Like I've gotten rid of most of my Heartfulness friends, but I know there's some European people, some Ukrainian people. This Ukrainian woman who was just really loved Charji, and she's now posting like some other new age like Ukrainian bullshit. I don't know what it is. Like there's people who are doing other things, and so I don't know what each person has to do, but it's been my needing the transmission, like just needing this as part of my life, and not getting it from Heartfulness, and just that craving and that, that intention, and then, developing, and I was gifted with this, blessing of, the gratefulness meditation, and, this gathering has they've really progressed, and I'm really pleased with it, and just amazing, and the sittings are, out of this world. It's just really great, and, I look forward to the rest of the day here, and there's 3 more sittings to go. We're only halfway through it, and, I just, I can't say enough good things about it. I'll cover a little bit about the people themselves. That's what I want to talk about on my regular channel, their inability to recognize Daji for what he is. But I guess to some extent they are, because that video only got 10,000 views. So the videos that were there, here, I'll pull it back up here. I got X'd out of them. The first one got 69,000 views. Now, it only had 50 yesterday, so they've added some. The one from the second one, 23 hours ago, got 56,000 views, and then 10,000 views. And they have Charji's picture. They have one with him and Daji, with Daji with his fucking weird mustache. In fact, there's 3 pictures of Charji with Daji in the first one. And then it's pictures of Charji, but like, there's no Charji featured at all. Like they have to do something. And he's clearly just dissing the guy left and right. And then, I want to get into, like I said, in the next talk about all that stuff I was saying, And, you look at these videos, they're all, the live ones and the regular ones, they're just not about Sahaj Marg anymore. Like they're not even, like, focused on it. Like they're just created this knockoff of it. And it's just, where they still do these bogus sittings, but they're always short. Daji looks like shit physically. I guess he had cancer before, and I don't even know. And just like it's a mess. And I don't want to focus on that because it's bringing me down. Like it's just, but I want to say that, not that I needed validation because I don't. This is, the gratefulness meditation saves my practice, and I mean, and I'm just like this is as good as I've been spiritually. Like, I've progressed in leaps and bounds since gratefulness, kicked in 2 years ago. So I have nothing but good things to say about it. But, and I just feel, it has nothing really to do with me other than, like, I couldn't survive without it. Like, I needed, I couldn't imagine life without, the transmission, the cleaning, and I wasn't getting it from Dodgy and the heartfulness, and I was angry all the time, or just, I don't know if anger is the right word, but negative. It's just negative. Like what he's doing over there. Every time you look at it, it's just, you get a negative feeling. Like just the whole thing. It's just, I mean, these fucking bullshit videos, and they're, they're lying about view counts, and, it's just, whatever, these stupid interviews, and like there's, there'll be like videos with 90,000 views and 10 comments, right? Like it's just, it doesn't work, right? And so, and so it's just an absolute abomination. I don't know what other people are doing, and I can't really be concerned with them because, some of the people I like and respect, and some of them are very saintly, and I'm sad. It might make me sad that they're suffering, and I'm sure they are to whatever extent. People really love Chargy, and they're being shut down, or they can't leave, and just all these things. Like, again, I'll cover that in my other voiceover on my regular channel. That'll be a part of the next day 2 thing. But, in terms of the meditations, it's available to everybody. Like, it's still great. Like, it's still there. And, I mean, it's hard to create an organization and do gatherings and pull all that stuff off. And maybe we'll never get to that here. But it's already better than what they're doing over there because it has transmission cleaning and it focuses on the right things. It's just not, it's very simple. He could have done this. Like, I don't know. I don't know why this is, like why he did what he did, and, why this secondary kind of, underground movement has happened. And I don't know how many other people are doing it, because they don't need to do it necessarily with me or under the idea of gratefulness. They don't need, they don't need me because it's about connecting directly. And so, I mean, and I think a lot of people are trying to connect directly and still do heartfulness, and they, that probably doesn't work so well. I don't know. But all I can say, it's like this, it's wonderful. Like what we're doing here is wonderful, and I'm really psyched about it. Like just, I look forward to the rest of my day and the last 3 sittings here. And, just, it's brought me closer to Chargy too, in a way that's, I just the way that he's been dissed and that he's been erased, and like how great it was. Like, I mean, I always appreciated him, but now more than ever. Anyways, let me wrap this one up here. Only spirituality will save this world. It's paramount, definitely important for the Apocalaughs and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.